A portion of this video is sponsored by Surfshark. It's been a huge year for headphones, so today I'll be awarding the best picks for both premium and budget options. I'll be covering 6 categories: the best noise cancelling, transparency mode, fit, core quality, sound quality, and of course the best overall. So I've scored 26 headphones in total and compiled all of this information into a custom scoring spreadsheet. On there, you can easily compare them all, customize the scoring to favor categories that matter more to you. You can download it for free, but I'll run through it in detail later. But let's get straight into category 1, the best noise cancelling. First, how I test my noise cancelling, I do this with simulation plane noise, crowd noise, and random music on a soundbar. So I'm getting a whole range of frequencies. I also test all my headphones in the gym for some real world testing. And this was incredibly close, but if I had to choose one headphone, it's the Bose QC Ultra Gen 2. I originally had the Sony XM6, but after a firmware update, the ANC was nerfed slightly. So with plain noise, it's neck and neck. The XM6 was slightly better before the update, but now it's even. Bose does a better job at blocking out the crowd noise though, which is a trickier noise to block out. I noticed this in my simulation and real world testing. So I was gonna block out random sounds, background music, and chatter a bit easier. As you can see here, I have the QC2 scored a 10 out of 10 for noise cancelling, the XM6 a 9.75 as I combine the plain noise and crowd noise scoring. So it's not a massive difference, but noticeable. I'd say Bose is about 5% stronger. But now let's go down in price. The best mid-range noise cancelling goes to the Sony Ultwear. I have them scored an 8.5 out of 10, so yeah, it's a step down from the XM6. It's noticeable, but not a massive difference. What I mainly notice is voices, kind of fan noise, and more inconsistent sounds with the middle and high frequencies get let in a bit easier compared to the XM6. To put a number on it, I'd say it's roughly a 15% difference. But if that's still too expensive for you, the next best pick is the Soundcore Space One Pro. You can get these for around $150 and they are scored just behind the Ultwear. The Ultwear are better overall in terms of sound, transparency, core quality. You also get a hard case included. Space One Pro only gives you a soft case. But now the budget winner for noise cancelling goes to the Earphone Tune Pro. You can get these headphones for around $55 and I have them scored a 7.5 out of 10 for noise cancelling. They're on par with the likes of the Nothing Headphone 1 and Bowers & Wilkins PX8S2, which cost like 7 times the price. Also, again, a solid headphone you may see again in the awards. But now onto category 2, the best transparency mode, aka ambient mode. It has many names. Basically, it's the mode that lets you hear things. Now, when it comes to the premium winners, it's a tie here between the Sony XM6 and AirPods Max. I noticed the AirPods Max have slightly less white noise and pick up low end from voices slightly better, where the XM6 transparency has a slightly more natural sound to it. This is just nitpicking. They honestly sound pretty close to me. And they're still not perfect. I think both are slightly brighter than what I'm naturally hearing. This seems to be an area where true wireless earbuds do have the edge over headphones. They just come across slightly more natural. But it's still pretty impressive the AirPods Max are this good, being like a 5-year-old headphone. Now the mid-range winners for the best transparency mode is a Nothing Headphone 1 and Sony Ultwear. I have them scored 1 point off the top headphones with an 8.5 out of 10. So overall, the clarity is slightly worse. They do have more occlusion as well. So when you speak yourself, your own voice doesn't sound as clear. It's a bit muffled with that subtle blocked ear effect. And I've got both headphones tied here as the Ultwear does have a slightly brighter sound to it. The headphone 1 isn't too bright. It's actually one of the more natural transparency modes, but it does have slightly more occlusion than the Ultwear. Now the budget headphone with the best transparency is the Edifier 830NB. You can get them on sale for around $60 and they're a pretty decent all-round headphone. When it comes to the transparency mode, it's quite similar to the mid-range headphones, but the clarity is a slight downgrade. Voices and distant sounds are not as clear, but at a level that's still usable. And there's barely any white noise hiss, which is pretty rare to see at this price. So you definitely want to have a decent transparency mode for your headphones, but you probably don't want to be as transparent when you're online. That's where today's sponsor, Surfshark, has you covered. I've been using Surfshark for about 6 months straight now. I use it on both my MacBook Pro and iPhone. It's super easy to set up on any device. You really just need to log in, and you can do so on an unlimited amount of devices. So in my time using Surfshark VPN, I just get this nice peace of mind knowing that my data is not being tracked. Once you have a VPN, you'll understand the feeling. Plus you get extras such as access to streaming services or shows not available in your country. I'm still getting through Breaking Bad for the 5th time, which is not on Netflix Australia. So I just chuck on my Surfshark VPN to the US and I'm good to go. A new feature that I personally love is the email scam checker. Email scams are on the rise and I receive tons of emails every day. You can also upgrade to Surfshark One, which includes an antivirus, data breach alerts. An alternative ID will create a brand new online identity for you and a proxy email, further shielding your true info to avoid data leaks or scams. You can also try it out for no risk, as Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you can click the link down below, go to surfshark.com/pickyaudio, or just use the code pickyaudio at checkout to get 4 extra months for free. So give it a go, and thanks a lot Surfshark for sponsoring the video. All right, now onto category 3, the best fit and comfort. And the premium winner here goes to the Bose QC Ultra 2, or Gen 1 because it's the exact same fit, but I only have Gen 2. So the headphones are quite light, weighing 264 grams, but there are lighter headphones on my ranking from Sony and one more, where Bose excels is the perfect balance of weight, clamping force, and earpad space. I have a giant head and giant ears, but I get minimal contact inside the earpads, and they just feel light on the old head. The runner-up here though is a Sony XM6. They are lighter at 254 grams, and the comfort is pretty close to Bose. The earpads are just as spacious, but they're more shallow, which I don't love the feel of. The clamping force is also tighter, which is actually why I wanted to add these in. The extra clamping force makes these the most secure headphones on my ranking. So if you just want a more secure fit, like if you just want to lean over and not have your headphones fall off your head, or like you're weight training or exercising with headphones on, the XM6 are going to be the headphone to get. And if the clamping force is too much, they should loosen over time, or you can just loosen the headphones on like a wide box or something like that. Now the mid-range winner when it comes to fit is the Sony Ultwear. You get a similar feel to the XM6, but I actually prefer the Ultwear. The earpads are a bit deeper and there's slightly less clamping force, but still pretty secure. Again, a great all-round fit. Now the budget winner for fit is One More Sonoflow. You basically get a similar feel and fit to the Bose QC Ultra 2, but you can get the Sonoflow for close to $60 US. The build quality definitely surpasses the price you pay. The earpads are pretty high quality, the build is solid overall. You even get a hard case included, which is just not a thing at this price. There is a Sonoflow Pro, but I think the Sonoflow is a better sounding headphone and the earpads are also more spacious. Now, category 4 is the best call quality. And I run through 3 tests for all headphones here: a quiet room, simulation crowd noise, and a simulation windy city with construction noise. The total score is the average of all 3 tests, which you can check on the spreadsheet. The winner for the best premium headphone is the Sony XM6, closely followed by the Bose QC2 Ultra. The mid-range winner is the Nothing Headphone 1. The budget options really struggle in the Windy City test though. It's only the Soundcore Space 1 and CMF Headphones Pro that are somewhat usable. So to give you an idea of the call quality you get at different prices, I'll leave you with some samples here in the crowd noise test and Windy City test, going from worst to best. All right, now let's see how the microphones block out some simulation crowd noise. All right, here's a Soundcore Space 1 with some simulation crowd noise.
All right, here is the CMF Headphone Pro with some simulation crowd noise.
All right, here's a Nothing Headphone 1 with some simulation crowd noise. All right, here is the Bose QC Ultra 2 with some simulation crowd noise. All right, here's a Sony WH-XM6 with some simulation crowd noise. All right, now I have some city noise, some construction noise, and some simulation wind. All right, here's the Soundcore Space 1 with some city noise, construction noise, and some simulation wind.
All right, here is the CMF Headphone Pro with some city noise, construction noise, and some simulation wind.
All right, here's a Nothing Headphone 1 with some city noise, construction noise, and some simulation wind. All right, here's Bose QC Ultra 2 with some city noise, construction noise, and simulation wind. All right, here's a Sony WH-XM6 with some city noise, construction noise, and some simulation wind. All right, now category 5, the most important round, the best sound quality. A quick disclaimer, we all have different tastes. This is my ranking, so when I'm scoring the headphones, this is taking into account my personal preference. I still try to keep it somewhat general, so just keep that in mind. Also, just keep in mind I don't have some of like the ultra premium Bluetooth headphones. But if I had to choose only one headphone for sound quality, it has to be the Sennheiser HDB 630. They're really the only natural sounding headphone, at least on my ranking. Fast, clean bass, with sub bass that's still there, but it's not over the top. Mid bass is also not lacking, but it's a very balanced bass response. I'm personally not used to it, but I can appreciate it. The mids are definitely the standout though. Vocals are clear, natural, and just have a unique sense of realism. The upper mids are also pretty smooth, same with the treble, but with this clean response, this allows the upper mids and treble to kind of breathe. You get nice detail with no issues of sibilance or fatigue. Soundstage is not impressive, but for a closed back headphone, about on average. but this sound is definitely a dream if you're an audiophile. Now, I don't call myself an audiophile. I personally like a more energetic tuning. I want maybe a slightly V-shaped sound, we could say, but still retaining as much balance as possible. But I can definitely appreciate this natural tuning. If you really want to intricately listen, notice small details, and just get kind of like an engaging but relaxing listening experience, these are the headphone to go for. But the main reason I'm awarding them the best sound is for the great customization with the parametric EQ. In there, you can add up to 5 bands, you can adjust the frequency, Q factor, chuck in a high or low shelf, but it's undo, redo, and bypass I had the most fun with. So you can make a small change and easily compare it to what you had before, or hold down on bypass and compare your adjustments to the stock EQ. You can also do A/B testing and test 2 different EQs at the same time. I've already spent hours in there, it's just so much fun if you like playing around with an EQ. Here's a rough EQ I came up with that adds a bit of extra energy to the sound, but honestly, just chucking on the stock sound with the bass boost EQ preset gives you a much richer sound when it comes to bass, but you still retain that great vocal clarity and nice detail. But something to keep in mind here is that you can only really steer so far away from the stock tuning. Even though you have a parametric EQ in there, you're not going to be able to get them sounding like another set of headphones, but you can probably get close to it. But the runner-up for premium sound quality here is a Bowers & Wilkins PX8 S2. Now the stock EQ is completely different to the 630. I honestly don't love the stock EQ of the PX8 S2. I think the bass is a bit bloated, the mids are slightly too recessed, so this is my go-to EQ, cleaning up the bass, boosting the mids, and I think the treble needs to be dialed down ever so slightly. So I find this EQ just smooths everything out, and it's just such an immersive listening experience. They have some of the widest soundstage, at least for a closed back headphone. And I would put the instrument separation basically on par, at times maybe even slightly better than the 630, because the treble is quite forward, it's definitely more crisp, so anything in those higher ranges and those high frequencies like hi-hats, ride cymbals, percussion, orchestration, I find I can pick it out a bit easier in that soundstage. Now you don't get the most forward vocal experience here. Even with my slight boosting, they are slightly recessed, but you do get a very rich, warm vocal experience, which I find is different to the 630. They're more forward vocal experience. PX8 S2 is richer and warmer. So to kind of sum it up here, the HDV 630 is smooth, detailed, and natural. The PX8 S2, open, dynamic, and direct. I personally prefer the PX8 S2 though. I do have some more runners up here though. I need to chuck in the AirPods Max. I've seen them get a bit of hate when it comes to sound, but I think they sound great. They are on the brighter side compared to most headphones on my ranking. The treble is definitely a standout. It's crisp, detailed, there's nice upper treble, but not too over the top, so it rarely gets harsh. It may be fatiguing for some people, maybe if you're sensitive to treble, but it's not too fatiguing for me. I think they have some of the best bass on my ranking as well. Well-rounded, punchy, you get tasteful deep sub bass. It's not boomy at all. Clean, but not lacking, which I love. Vocals come across forward and natural as well. The upper mids are boosted slightly more here than the PX8 S2 and 630, which I personally like. The lower mids are a little bit lacking though, so you don't get a very rich vocal experience. So these are a great headphone for detail and if you like a slightly in-your-face kind of tuning. But now the mid-range winner for the best sound quality goes to the Sennheiser Momentum 4. You can get these for close to $200 US. For that price, easily the best sounding headphone you can get. Out of the box, I don't really need to EQ them. It's just a well-rounded, slightly V-shaped sound. With deep, powerful sub bass, rich mid bass, which is slightly boomy, but not too over the top. You get natural clear mids and super smooth, but detailed treble. It's perfect if you want your treble to stand out, but not get harsh. The sound is a bit closed in, but when I'm listening to the Momentum 4, I just feel immersed and relaxed at the same time. What I found really interesting comparing them to the HDB 630 is they basically sound the same as the HDB 630 when they have their bass boost EQ preset on. The overall clarity is still definitely better on the 630, but it's really not a huge difference. So if you do like a slightly bass boosted on the V-shaped side tuning, I'd say just go for the Momentum 4. I don't think it's really worth going for the HDB 630. The only downside is you don't get the best customization of sound on the Momentum 4. So you get a 5-band EQ, you can tailor them slightly, but you're definitely not going to be able to get the HDB 630 stock tuning on the Momentum 4 using that EQ there. I tried it and failed miserably. So comparing the HDB 630 to the Momentum 4, apart from the sound and the sound customization, it's basically identical. Same noise cancelling, transparency, call quality. The 630 earpads are slightly more spacious, but like I'm talking a couple of millimeters. I just noticed it on my giant ears. But yeah, it's basically the same headphone. I think the Momentum 4 are gonna be the headphone to get for most people. Now onto the best sounding budget headphone. This one was a real doozy because there was no real clear standout. But I've got the CMF Headphones Pro first for sound quality. You can get them sounding good, it's just a bit of a nightmare as you only get a 3-band EQ. And the hearing test improves the sound quite a bit, but I just had to run through it a few times to get the best result. A good old-fashioned 5-band or like 8-band EQ would have been nice here. Still, you can get a pretty rich open sound here with full vocals and detailed treble. For $99, it's solid. I'm also awarding the Earphone Wave Pro for best budget sound. You can get these headphones for around 50 bucks and the stock tuning is actually quite balanced. This is my go-to EQ, which cleans the treble up, boosts the bass a bit, and you get a detailed sound here, more detailed than the CMF Pro, I'd say. The soundstage is a bit closed in, but the treble is more crisp. Overall, I'd put them on par to the CMF Headphones Pro, and you are paying half the price. And I'll also mention the Earphone Tune Pro is pretty close to the Wave Pro in terms of sound. Another budget headphone I had to throw in here is the One More Sonoflow. They do need quite a bit of EQing. This is what I came up with. It looks like a lot of treble boosting, but even with this, the treble is super smooth. The bass is rich and clean, but the mids are the standout. They're quite forward and full, so you get solid instrument separation with that as well. So if you like your vocals to stand out with smooth treble at a budget price, these are gonna be the headphone to get. But now onto the final round, the best overall headphone. So this is a good time to put my custom scoring spreadsheets to use, and here's how you can do it as well. So it's free to download, linked below. You can donate if you want. If not, just chuck a 0 in the field. And this is an updated spreadsheet with all headphones at any price. Just be sure to open it in Google Sheets to be able to use the custom scoring. So for each headphone, I have notes for all the scores, so you get an insight into my scoring. There's also a specifications tab for all the headphones, the core quality scores for each test, and a simple headphone terminology tab. To personalize the score, just fill out a number in the importance column, and that'll multiply the entire category for all the headphones. Be sure to multiply it by at least 5 to get a more reliable custom ranking. After you do that, you'll get a new custom ranking for all the headphones with the new score staying within 100. But let's start here with the best budget headphone, around $50 US. It's the Earphone Tune Pro. After my custom scoring, they come out on top, and it's pretty fair to me because the noise cancelling is beating out pricier headphones. The sound is great, as I said, pretty close to the Wave Pro, as you get a solid 10-band EQ to really tailor the sound to your liking. The comfort is also decent. The build quality is not amazing, but look, they're $50. They do have the best battery life, 80 hours with noise cancelling on. You're also able to listen via the headphone jack or USB-C high-res with noise cancelling on. Many headphones at this price don't let you use noise cancelling with the wired connection, such as the Earphone Wave Pro. Sacrifices though for paying this price is that you don't get a hard case or even a soft case. The transparency mode is not great, but it's usable. And the core quality in windy conditions is also not great. No headphone at this price has been able to pass the Windy City test yet though. But if you just want a solid headphone that fits well, has strong noise cancelling and solid sound, the Tune Pro might be worth it for you. But now let's say you're happy to spend another $50, the best budget headphone at that price is the CMF Headphone Pro. Now they actually scored the same as the Earphone Tune Pro after my customization, as the Tune Pro does have stronger noise cancelling to my surprise. But the major pros of the CMF headphone is that you get better build quality. The earpads are slightly more spacious. They're also replaceable, which is pretty cool. You can chuck on some random colors there if you like. The core quality is just usable, I'd say, in windy conditions, but you do get more tactile controls with a dial for volume, slider for a quick bass or treble boost, and the transparency mode is much better with both clarity and occlusion. They also push out some ridiculously crazy bass there if you're a bit of a bass head. But now the best mid-range headphone is the Sennheiser Momentum 4. Battery life is impressive at 60 hours with noise cancelling on. Core quality, noise cancelling, transparency are all good enough. Not amazing, but it's gonna get the job done. The fit is not the best though, so if you have large ears like me, the earpads are not too spacious, but it is something I got used to. The touch controls are also a bit finicky at times. So if you do want better controls, core quality, and transparency mode, the Nothing Headphone 1 are gonna be a solid option as well. They sound fine after some EQing. You do get a parametric EQ as well, but EQ them all you want. They're not gonna sound better than the Momentum 4. But now onto the best overall premium headphone of 2025. It's a Sony WH-1000XM6. As they have the second strongest noise cancelling, a comfortable secure fit, some of the best core quality, responsive touch controls, extras like adaptive sound control, voice detect, the always on voice assistant on Android, 360 audio, and so many like random extras in the Sony app. You get tons of options and customization in there. I also think they sound pretty solid. I have them scored a 9 out of 10 for sound. because you do get a solid 10-band EQ, which really lets you tailor the sound to your liking. And after that, you can get a rich, clear, open sound. The only drawbacks are the shallowish ear cups. The clamping force is tighter, but that will loosen over time. And the build quality isn't really reflective of the price, but they should last. I got some special mentions here though. First is to the AirPods Max. They're really not far off the XM6. Noise cancelling, call quality is just behind. Transparency mode is just as good. They are a heavy headphone, but are really well built and still very comfortable with more spacious and breathable earpads. Plus they work seamlessly in the Apple ecosystem. You get always on Siri, so this is still going to be a solid option if you are in the Apple ecosystem. And I've got one more special mention that's going to go to the Bose QC Ultra 2. Also just behind the XM6, they are the noise cancelling and comfort king. You don't get the best controls as the swipe volume is not very intuitive. You only get a 3-band EQ, but apart from that, the main features, sound, noise cancelling, call quality and transparency are all top tier. But of course, be sure to check out the spreadsheet for yourself and see what headphone will work for you. If you want to grab any of the headphones, please use my affiliate links down below. It really helps the channel out. And if you want to check out my 2025 Earbud Awards video, check it out right here. Thanks for tuning in, stay picky, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.